Harley-Davidson is barely clinging to life after years of turbulence. Bankruptcy wasn't the end of it. Now dealerships are collapsing one after another. Sales have plummeted over the past decade, and 2025 is already being called the last chapter, the year this legendary brand fades from existence. At the end of June 2025, Blackbridge Harley-Davidson in Cambridge shut its doors. That's right, one of Ontario's last independent dealers has switched off the engines permanently. Think about the riders who've been stopping by there for years, maybe even decades, only to suddenly learn that this familiar hangout, this second home, is closing forever. It isn't just a shop shutting down, it feels like a funeral for an entire riding community. And if that wasn't painful enough, Rockies in London, Ontario is bowing out too after an incredible 70 years. 70 years. That store made it through recessions, survived changes in government, weathered everything. Yet somehow it couldn't survive Harley-Davidson's present chaos. When a dealership with a history that deep goes under, it's clear the issue isn't just one business struggling, it screams that something far bigger is wrong. Here's the kicker. Harley wants everyone to believe these are isolated cases, just a few unlucky dealerships that couldn't keep pace. But really, who are they fooling? When closures are spreading through Ontario, across Canada, across the US, you can't chalk it up to random bad luck. This is a pattern, a domino effect, taking down dealership after dealership. Those buzzing local hubs that once brought riders together are now turning into empty shells. And the emotional toll, brutal. Harley riders don't simply visit dealerships to buy motorcycles. They go there to belong, to find family, brotherhood, sisterhood, community, to walk into a place where people know your name, where the mechanic understands your bike better than you do, where you can grab a coffee and talk about the next ride. Now all of that is vanishing. Riders say there's no substitute. Sure, you can buy parts or even a new bike online, but you can't replace the trust of handing your ride to a mechanic who's worked on it for years. You can't replicate the feeling of walking into a shop that feels more like your living room, just filled with chrome and engines. And the timing couldn't be worse. Harley's annual numbers are already plunging. Even with a new CEO, the decline hasn't been stopped. You'd think fresh leadership might trigger some kind of turnaround, right? Wrong. The bleeding continues. The ship is still sinking, and these dealership closures are just the visible cracks showing how deep the damage goes. Now let's take a look at Harley's favorite roller coaster, their financials. They're up, they're down, they twist, they turn, and at the end of the ride you're sick to your stomach. In Q2 they bragged about a 12% rise. Sounds great until Q3 rolled around and they plunged 26%. That left them 6% down year to date. 6% may not sound devastating when said quickly, but for a company like Harley, that's a fortune disappearing in a single year. That's the difference between keeping dealerships alive or watching them collapse. Digging deeper, HDMC, the motorcycle's parts and accessories arm, had a brief shine in Q2, up 13%, but like a cheap firework, it fizzled fast and nosedived. By Q3, they were down 32%. That's not a dip, it's falling straight off a cliff. Year over year, down 9%. This is Harley's core business, and it's bleeding out. Meanwhile, Harley's financial division, HDFS, is trying to play savior, up 10% in both Q2 and Q3, now making up about 18% of company revenue. Basically, the side hustle is keeping the lights on. But Harley's not supposed to be a bank. They should be selling bikes, not propping themselves up with loans. When your finance arm is stronger than your motorcycle sales, the priorities are completely upside down. And then there's Livewire, Harley's supposed golden ticket. Except instead of saving the company, it's turning into a disaster. Down 41% in Q3, down 30% year to date. Imagine hyping up a shiny new electric brand, grabbing headlines, and then watching it flop this badly. It's like unveiling your new superstar lead singer only to find out he can't carry a tune. Harley wanted Livewire to be the future, but so far it's just an overpriced hobby dragging them even lower. Together these numbers tell the same ugly story. Harley isn't just struggling with slow sales, it's facing structural failure. This isn't a flat tire, it's the whole engine dropping out. And while juggling those losses, they're shutting down dealerships at the same time. Which brings us to another bitter truth. Harley's spin on this mess, they call it network strengthening. Nice phrase, right? Sounds like upgrading, streamlining, optimizing. But in reality, it's nothing more than shrinking access. Fewer dealerships mean fewer chances to see, test, or service a Harley. that kills the customer experience. Think about it from a rider's perspective. A few years ago, maybe the closest dealer was 50 miles away. A quick ride, an easy trip. Now it's 85 to 120 miles. That's a road trip just to get your oil changed. What used to be a quick ride and a coffee is now half a day gone. That distance kills loyalty and turns dealerships from a community hub into a burden. And then you hear stories like taboo Harley-Davidson. No notice, no warning, just a Facebook post saying they were done. And if your bike was still inside, here's a number to call. Imagine trusting a shop with your motorcycle for warranty work, only to discover the place locked up overnight with your bike trapped inside. Some weren't even assembled yet, some stuck mid-repair. That's not bad business, it's betrayal. In Harley corporate, silent. No explanation, no plan, no accountability. Which makes them look even worse, because this reflects directly on the brand. This is why dealerships aren't just stores, they're lifelines. Riders drop off their bikes without a second thought. When one closes, it doesn't just cut into sales, it severs Harley's bond with its riders. And it's happening everywhere. Ontario, the Midwest, across the map. This isn't the exception anymore, it's becoming the rule. Harley sales look like a slow-motion crash everyone saw coming, but no one could stop. Back in 2015, they sold 266,000 units, 250,000 bikes in a single year. Impressive. But every year since has been a slide downward. 2016, 2060,000. 2017, 2043,000. 2018, 228,000. 2019, 218,000. Almost 50,000 gone in just 4 years. Harley was already bleeding long before the pandemic arrived. Then 2020 hit, knocking sales down to 145,000. Sure, you can blame shutdowns, but Harley was sinking years before. That wasn't bad luck, it was reality catching up. In 2021, they crawled back to 18,800. A recovery? Maybe. Until you remember they were at 20,66,000 just 6 years earlier. That's like bragging you went from drowning to barely treading water. 2022 nudged them up slightly to 19,300, but 2023 knocked them back to 18,000. In less than a decade, they've lost more than 85,000 annual sales. That's not a hiccup, it's a death spiral. And look at who's buying these bikes. The average customer has aged from 44 to 45. 1 year sounds small, but it proves the point. Harley isn't bringing in younger riders. The same crowd is just getting older. On top of that, incomes are climbing. Even Harley admits their customers now earn more. Translation: the bikes are too expensive for most people. They're selling fewer bikes to fewer people, who are older and richer. That's not building the future, it's draining what's left of the past. Dealerships feel this harder than anyone. With fewer riders walking in, fewer checking out new models, the life drains out of service departments, merchandise sales dry up, margins shrink, and eventually the lights go off. Closures aren't accidents, they're the inevitable result of Harley's shrinking customer base. Here's where Harley tries to distract with smoke and mirrors: market share. On paper it looks fantastic. 73% of the North American touring market, 76% in large cruisers. That's dominance, right? Except it's dominance over a shrinking market. It's like bragging you got the biggest slice of cake while ignoring the cake itself is half the size. Harley's numbers only look good because competitors are collapsing faster. That's not winning, it's losing less badly. And when sales keep shrinking, even a bigger slice leaves you starving. Then there's Livewire again. Harley's supposed electric miracle. They love bragging about 136% growth. Sounds huge until you break it down. In 2023, they sold 146 units. In 2024, 374. That's an increase of 28 bikes. For a company that once sold over 250,000 in a year, bragging about 374 is laughable. It's like a band that once sold out stadiums now cheering about filling a bowling alley. They even projected 600,000 units. Spoiler, they won't get there. Demand isn't there, infrastructure isn't there, and hype won't change that. Awards like Best Electric Motorcycle of 2024 don't keep dealerships alive. Units sold do, and Livewire isn't selling. So while Harley waves around percentages and shiny accolades, reality is crushing. Fewer dealerships, fewer riders, fewer bikes. You can't cover that up with pretty charts. At the top, you've got Jochen Zeitz, CEO since 2020, with his Grand Rewire and Hardwire strategies. They were supposed to steady Harley and secure the future. But here we are, watching dealerships close like clearance sales. Whatever rewiring or hardwiring he promised clearly didn't fix the short circuit. The crisis hasn't slowed, it's accelerating. So before Harley's legacy disappears completely, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick with us for the truths they don't want you hearing.